If you're broke right now, this video isn't here to make you feel bad. It's here to hand you the exact blueprint that took a kid from his mom's basement to buying her the house of her dreams.
You got you a fool now, look at you.
Jordan Welch just broke down his entire 8-step plan to go from literal rock bottom to millionaire. And it's one of the most practical, real, and really no fluff blueprints that I've ever seen. And if you're serious about changing your situation, you can copy this step by step starting today. So let's go ahead and break it all down. Now I am gonna speed it up just a little bit so that way this video doesn't get too long. And because honestly, I like to watch videos at like 1.5 times speed. So I won't make it go that fast. We'll put it at 1.25. All right, let's go and check it out.
Right, first one is get your shit together. Get your shit together. So explain to us what this means.
Well, for me personally, when I first started trying to make money online, I was not the person that I wanted to become in the future. You know, if you want to become a millionaire, if you want to become somebody of success, you got to do the things that successful people do. I wasn't educating myself. I wasn't in good shape. I wasn't in the right state of mind. I was smoking weed every single day. And the first big jump that I ever made in my career was when I tried to dial back doing these negative things. So in 2020, I was in my worst financial situation I'd ever been in my life. I had $30,000 of credit card debt from a failed business, from a rough choice of lifestyle in Los Angeles. And I basically had to start over from scratch. And at that time, I was smoking every day. I was getting drunk on the weekends. I was spending over what I was making, living way outside of my means. And when I had to leave LA, because I couldn't afford it anymore, I had to go live back with my mom.
That's definitely something a lot of people do. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but yeah, a lot of people live outside of their means.
Mom's house. And that was the time that I had to look at myself in the mirror and say, you need to get your shit together. You cannot get out of this position that you're in today if you keep doing the same things that you're doing.
Was there a catalyst? I mean, sitting in...
All right, that's the first step that most people skip. Actually facing yourself. He didn't start with a new business or a new strategy or anything like that. He started with a brand new version of himself, essentially. It's impossible to build a disciplined business from an undisciplined lifestyle. And really, you just can't out-hustle bad habits. And Jordan hit his rock bottom, which I'm sure a lot of us have, which to some also might look a bit different. But he also had credit card debt, which I'm sure a lot of us have. And he also had to move back home, which that's a tough one. And that all just became his restart button. So if you are broke right now, just remember, it's not your end. It's essentially your calibration point. You don't need money to start. You simply just need clarity. So get your mind, your health, and your environment clean enough so that way success can actually stick. All right, let's continue.
Let's get into that because we'll go through. I think Get Your Shit Together could be the title of your book, by the way. And I feel like the theme of everything else we're going to talk about will help you get your shit together. So let's talk about the second item on the list then.
Sure.
Pick your path.
Yeah, right.
How did you pick your path? What process did you go through?
So like, as you know, when it comes to starting an online business, there's so many different options just with business in general. So it can be very overwhelming to determine what you want to do. You might want to do YouTube, you might want to do agency, you might want to do dropshipping. So to make that decision, right, one of the first things that I recommend you doing is know your strengths. Okay, everybody has some unique talent. Everybody has some unique strength to themselves. You might not even know it, but based on your environment and based how you came up, we all have something about ourselves. For me, for example, growing up, I was super interested in making videos. I was super interested in playing video games. So I learned how to edit very early. I learned how to make videos very early. I also had a huge interest for business. So even when I was a kid,
find what you're good at. Know your lane.
I was trying to start little websites and start little side hustles. So when I found out about e-commerce, it made a lot of sense to me because the business model is that you find products, you set them up on a website, you make videos, and you run marketing for those videos. It's like, this is the perfect business for me based on my strengths. Whereas you're a very conversational guy. You're a people person. You found this crazy strength just going out there into the world and talking to people, and it's created a whole life for you. So everybody needs to do some soul searching and figure out what is their unique strengths. Even if you don't have one at this moment, you must have something that you can look at and say, okay, this is probably a good starting point.
The thing is, a lot of people listening, they're at school, you're criticized for what you're not good at and told to get better at the thing you're not good at. Mm-hmm. But in the real world, the best thing to do is get really good at the one thing you like doing, whatever it is. So there'll be people listening, and I've had this before, be like,
sorry I couldn't, but yeah, leverage your strengths. It's good to get better at what you suck at, but it's easier to get better at what you're already good at, if that makes sense. You can become an expert a little bit easier.
Like, well, I'm lazy. That's all. I'm not good at anything. I'm like, well, actually, that's a strength if you're lazy. You know, how can you leverage your laziness to teach other people how to make money, even if they're lazy, right? Like learning to actually look at whatever you think your weakness is as a strength, right? And figure out how to turn your strengths into a 10x. So you know your strengths. So in your case, it was content. What else?
Yeah, well, the next thing is to pick something that you can start without a bunch of money. So
now this is the crossroad where most people actually get stuck. There are really hundreds upon hundreds, maybe if not thousands of ways to make money online, but not all of them are your way. And that's what people don't understand. Everyone wants to do the easiest thing. That's not always the best for you, maybe. So in this case, Jordan simply just looked at his skills. He was good at editing videos, storytelling, and realized that e-commerce overall is something that matched him. And this was way before he even discovered AutoDS. Now, can you imagine how much faster he could have scaled if he had implemented automation this early on? Using AutoDS at this point would have saved him from having to fulfill tons of orders manually, or even building an entire dropshipping store. He would have been able to do that like this, because as we all know, AutoDS offers high converting pre-built Shopify stores to help you get started even quicker. So really quick, remember that if you want to try AutoDS for yourself, you can get started right now for just $1 for the next 2 weeks. Now, your version or your strength, it might be marketing, it could be design, or just understanding people and how their mentality works when it comes to e-commerce or making purchases. So in the end, just don't chase trends. Build around your strengths and start small. Jordan says, pick something that's cheap, which is a really good idea. That's the same reason that dropshipping exists. You can test, fail, learn, and rebuild with little money. If you've got Wi-Fi and discipline, you essentially have a business starter kit. All right, let's continue.
Time to build something big. Let's talk about finding someone to copy for a second. Let's go a bit deeper on it, because this is a subject I find really interesting. You see, at school, we're told, don't copy. Sit on your own and learn it on your own. And our brain thinks we have to do it all on our own. Nothing big has ever been built by one person on their own. Impossible, right? So copying is good.
One thing I've noticed that seems to be kind of a repetitive path in a lot of the things that I've been watching lately is school's good for you. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not, but certain parts of it could be a little bit misleading. Like some of the things that they tell you is actually kind of the exact opposite in certain parts of your life. So yeah, just quick thoughts.
That's how I feel about it. The second thing is you can do it in your own way, which then instantly will make it unique, because no one's got your personality, no one's got your background, no one's got your story. So you can make whatever you copied unique, right? But how do you go about discerning who's a fake and who's real and who to copy? How did you do it? And who did you copy?
Well, I would just look for people who actually had tangible results. And you don't always necessarily even have to find a person. You just need to find an actual business that you know is bringing you results that you can replicate. So flashback to when I was just starting in this e-commerce thing, I was looking for people who had real results. So find someone or some business with results. You don't want to follow some person on YouTube that is only preaching advice or somebody that's only talking wisdom. You want to find somebody that really has a track record of success. It really is going and showing you their story, showing you their business. These are the things that's super important. The reason why I put this point is because, as you said, we are taught that it's bad to copy people, but I actually think that is better than even the best marketing school you could ever go to in the world. You're going to learn theory and concepts in a university, but from looking at a business that's already super profitable, you're going to learn tactically exactly what you need to do. Back to your example of, you said you had a gardening company back in the day, right? If I was going to start something like that today, I wouldn't try to scheme up my whole plan of how to do gardening. I would go and find who's the biggest gardening company in my city. I would go to their website, see what they're doing to get customers. I would call them up and see what is their offer, how much are they charging? And I would basically take the whole thing, because they've already been testing this for years. They've already been figuring all this out. So you get to now skip the process of figuring all those things out and start it from a much more advantageous position. So that's really step one when it comes to starting a business, is finding a good example to replicate, because you're not at the level to pull something completely out of scratch yet.
And what?
Yeah, I agree. And it's like they say, copying is the biggest form of flattery. There is lots of things that you can copy from already existing systems that can really help you out. They can help benefit you and really start to set the base for what you can start to build on. Okay, so forget what school taught you. Copying isn't cheating. It's learning essentially at high speed, I guess. It's like a little cheat code. He says it's better than business school. And really, he's right. You don't need to invent everything from scratch. Study what's already working, the stores, the ads, their offers, and then add your own spin. Here's the important part though. Copy the system, don't copy the personality. Like here, for example, you can copy the systems that we give you and take all of the information that we provide you and use it for yourself in your own way. Am I telling you to copy me directly? No, but take advantage of all the info that's given to you from our channel and all of the other different channels that there are on YouTube, and use it to your advantage. By the way, make sure to follow and leave a like if you're enjoying this kind of content. I know it's a little bit different, but it could be very motivational and it could really help out a lot of people. And by the way, that's also how some of the best sellers use AutoDS. You research and you find proven products, you import, and then you improve. Innovation doesn't start from zero. It starts from better. All right, now let's move on to the next part.
I want to go deep and extend your time horizon, because this one is a deep psychological problem for people.
Yeah.
And I think it's important we go deep. Let's just talk about the psychology of this. How did you know this? Because most of the people I meet today, thanks to social media world, they want the Lamborghini now.
Yeah.
They want the penthouse now. They want it all now. And so the thing is, if they got it right now, they would also lose it just as quick.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Like I see this.
Everyone wants instant success. Everyone wants a video to go viral on TikTok and make them millions in a week. Same thing with their dropshipping store, affiliate marketing, whatever it may be. Everyone wants instant success, and that's not how it is. Not realistically. Can it happen? Yes. Is it likely? Not really.
Social media influencers become really big, really quick, and then they die just as quick.
Yeah.
Right? So you've been doing this since you were 12. How old are you now?
I'm 26.
26. So you've been 14 years doing this. People see 1.7 million subs, and they're like, oh, that's easy. In a year, I should have 1 million subs. Why not? Right? No. It's accumulated compounded learning. Compound learning is so much better than compound interest.
Yeah.
Right? But you can't take it away from you. Money can be taken away from you. Your compound learning never, ever leaves you, right?
100%.
So where did you start when it comes to extending your horizon? Did you just say, right, I don't need possessions? How did you psychologically get there?
The reason why I'm saying this now is because it's something that I didn't have back then, and it really messed with my head. Back then, I used to really feel depressed and anxious and worried all the time because I wasn't successful as a teenager, and because I wasn't super successful in my early years of my life. So
Same thing goes for when you're older, except it's probably even worse because you feel like you've wasted so much time. You get anxious that you're losing time. You're not doing what you have to. You're eating crap, and that's happened to me in the past, and it sucks. That's when you really have to like look at yourself, take a step back, and really lock in.
I'm sharing this now as a foresight of like, I wish I had this because I think I would have been able to enjoy the journey more. Now, I would say for somebody that is looking for a better way to look at it and a better way to go into this, give yourself 6 months, give yourself at least 6 months before you ever put yourself up on the scoreboard and start to look at what you're doing as an actual attempt. Because anything less than 6 months is not a real attempt. If you told me that you wanted to get in super good shape and you tried it for a month and a half, I wouldn't take that attempt seriously. But people think somehow it's different with business. They start one business for 2 months and then they quit. They start another business for 3 weeks and they quit. If you don't run something for at least 6 months, it's not even worth the attempt.
I think the other thing about this is I lived in Hong Kong.
Completely agree. All right, so this one probably hit me the hardest. Most people quit before they even start. And trust me, this happened to me so many different times with so many different businesses. They try businesses for 1 or 2 months, it doesn't work, and they say, this isn't for me. But if you're not giving it at least, like he says, at the very minimum, 6 months, you're not even giving it a real attempt. Success compounds. Jordan's been building since he was 12. You see 1.7 million subscribers on his YouTube channel. He sees 14 years of compounded learning. Stop comparing your day 1 to someone's year 10. This isn't about overnight success. It never has been. To some it is, but it's not realistic. It's about staying in the game long enough to learn how to win. And this is going to be harder for some more than others. You need to be comfortable doing stuff for completely free with the hopes that eventually it is going to pay off. Little results and small goals are the drivers that lead you to the bigger goals and the bigger results and the bigger paydays. It's just being consistent that you need to keep at. You need to keep being consistent. All right, let's go ahead and continue.
I'm doing a property show today. So what's next on the list? Let's talk about reinvesting everything, because this is a subject I also really love.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're not going to invest, obviously, in property or any of these things, the best investment that you can ever make, even to get to that level, is back into the business. So if you did everything that we said so far, and you gave yourself 6 months, you hopefully made some money. You hopefully made a couple of dollars. Now, the first thing that you need to do is not spend any of this money and put it right back into the business. That way you don't make the mistake that I made in my first go around. And when
Everyone makes this mistake. The first few bucks they get, it's gone.
comes to reinvesting back into the business, it can be a matter, it depends on which business, right? But for me, we'll talk specifically, it was getting ads to another level, trying to make the product much better, creating the best content as possible. It was making it from just a little dropshipping store to an actual brand.
Again, this is so important as a point. I think people who do actually manage to make some money, businesses go bankrupt. I've never been bankrupt. And I've done some really risky businesses.
Yeah.
It's because whenever I've made money, I've assumed that it's not there. I've either kept it for a rainy day or reinvested it back into the business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember the first time I made £500,000 in my agency business, I bought chairs, Herman Miller chairs, really expensive chairs for all the staff. And that meant the staff felt like I cared about them. I didn't want their backs to get hurt. So they stayed in the company longer, right? And the office looked nicer. So when clients came in, they're like, wow, you've really invested in your business. Clients had more confidence in you. The team had more confidence that you cared about them, and I could have taken that money out and bought a house and rented it out.
Mm-hmm.
So reinvesting is so, so important, and people don't get it. I think
It's crazy the type of reinvesting that he did compared to the type of reinvesting that, let's say, Jordan Welch did. He reinvested it in like furniture to make his office space look good, and it helped. Like, it definitely did what it was supposed to. Instead of, buying his own house and then making himself look good, he made the business look good.
that's the short-term game, right, is so silly in business. You should never go bankrupt in business, in my opinion. If you're making money, you're going to have months when you're not making money, right? So you've always got to have a rainy day fund. But going back into the business, putting that money back into the business is so underrated and not talked about enough.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to do that is first and foremost, avoid lifestyle traps.
Right. Again, trying to prove to other people as well that you've got money, right?
Yeah.
I think Alex Hormozy said he's driving around in a deadbeat car when he had $1 million cash in the bank.
Like I said, instead of reinvesting it into a house, or like he said too, reinvest it into the business. Make the business look good. This is the fork where most entrepreneurs essentially crash. They make a few $1,000s and spend it to look successful instead of becoming successful. Jordan lived that mistake, and I'm sure a lot of us have as well. I know I definitely have. Not to this extent, but he moved to LA, he spent too much, and he had to start from zero again. Now he says reinvest everything. I know a lot of people who have made this same mistake, again, myself included. You spend every dollar you make because more is coming. This is a huge trap and a vicious cycle because it's never really guaranteed. Be smart. Pretend it's not there. Use it to keep growing. It's money you didn't have before and you were surviving without it. So why not just try to keep pushing that a little bit longer? Every dollar should essentially serve a mission. Better products, better ads, better branding, because growth doesn't come from profit. It comes from reprofiting. So if your store's finally making money, don't go out and buy $1,000 shoes. Save up and eventually buy your freedom by literally putting that money back into your business. All right, let's keep going.
If you're building a company to get it to that next level.
So let's get into team, because I tell people this all the time, like, you cannot make it on your own. I said that earlier, but I've personally only been successful because of the people that have worked with me. Today, the team I have here, the 17 people I actually work with in total to make this content, no way this would be working without them. So tell us how you build teams.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I don't agree with people saying that they're like self-made and stuff.
Yeah, nobody that's on the bio.
Nobody that's really successful is self-made. Of course, you took the actions to get to a certain level, but if you want to explode and reach that multi-7-figure level, you need to do it with a team. I think the first thing to look at is figure out, again, back to what we talked about before, figure out your strengths, or a better way to put it, your highest ROI. So for some people, it's going to be doing the sales. For some people, it's going to be building the product. For some people, it's going to be running the ads. You, as the owner of the business, got it to a certain level because you were really good at something. But we all have huge glaring weaknesses as business owners. And you might not even notice this problem inside of your business. And sometimes it helps to ask a friend or go around, but you need to figure out what you're the absolute worst at. I could even re-rate that and say, figure out what you absolutely suck at, because those are the first most important things that you need to fill in inside of your business.
Even things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain things I can do accounts. I don't want to do it.
Yes, exactly. And I'm glad you said that, because that's really the first big hires that I had in my business. Like, I had hiring somebody to help me with doing customer service, and I had somebody to help me managing the supply and order fulfillment. Just these like maintenance jobs that I didn't want to handle, so I could focus on my strength, which was the marketing and the advertising and the product development. So the first thing is figure out your strongest and your weakest point inside the business at this point and fill that gap. And you're going to see a huge uptick from doing that.
So how did you get the people on board?
It's pretty easy. I mean, people like to work, and as long as you give them some money and you have a company that's...
Okay, no one's self-made, at least not in the long run. At the beginning, people can make it. Jordan said it himself. The biggest jump came when he stopped trying to do absolutely everything alone. Start with what you suck at. If customer messages drain you, hire someone for that. There are tons of different options to help you with this, like, let's say, virtual assistants. And truthfully speaking, they're pretty cheap. And if you're dropshipping, AutoDS helps you control what access you give them through your stores. You don't want them to see your sales or whatever products you're selling because you don't want them to copy you? No problem. Limit their access to only messages. Now, on the flip side, when marketing, if editing takes you forever, find a freelance video editor. When you free yourself from maintenance work, you make room for creative work. And that's where breakthroughs live. Even just one person helping you is the start of a team. You don't need 20 employees. You just need leverage. All right, let's keep going.
To them properly and build a business that makes you money. All right, break your business.
Yes.
Like the title. I think I know what this is about, but I'm excited to hear what this is about. So break your business. Tell us, what do we need to know?
Yeah, I just put it in a clickbait way to say scale your business until it falls apart. Because once you have a little bit of an organization, you have a team there, and you reinvest and you have a bit of a better product, now is the time to actually try to push your business as far as it can go. So the first point that I want to say is push as far as you can go. The reason why you want to do this is because you're going to push, you're going to start making more money. And at a certain level, maybe it's $100 grand a month, maybe it's $250 grand a month, maybe it's $10 grand a month, you're going to realize huge flaws in your business. For me, with the e-commerce business, I realized that people weren't happy with the packaging of the product, or we were having electrical issues with the product. And we had to fix those issues before we scaled even further. When you scale, you're going to find the problems in your business. You're not going to find them if you don't push it to this level. Otherwise, you're just going to maintain having a mediocre business forever.
So you're saying hire 75 people?
I'm saying push to get more customers until you see.
Now, this one sounds wild, but it's real. Push your business to its limits, not because you want it to collapse, but because pressure reveals cracks. And that's where growth hides. Jordan scaled until he saw what was breaking: packaging, fulfillment, quality. Then he fixed it. The same thing applies in dropshipping. If you can't handle 10 orders a day, you're not going to be able to handle 100. Automation, systems, and structures exist for that same exact reason. Stress test your business before the customers do it for you. And trust me, you do not want them to do that for you. Luckily though, you do have AutoDS to help you here and take all of that stress off of your shoulders. All right, on to the last step.
Most amount of life-changing money I ever made was from selling these two businesses.
All right, make it sellable. So tell us, how do you make a business sellable?
Yeah, so like I said, I sold two companies. One was an e-commerce brand, one was a software brand. The e-commerce company is what I want to focus on when it comes to making it sellable. And the first thing is building a moat. Okay, so what I mean by say building a moat is I mean building a competitive advantage for your company. So for us, we spent literally 2 years and over 35 variations through China making the best product. Also, over the course of time, we had tens and tens of thousands of customers and hundreds of thousands of customer emails. So we got to build a huge customer list. The other thing that we did really well that I think was what made the business really attractive for buyers is that we didn't just rely on one source of traffic. We had an omnipresent business. So just like you on social media, I can't go on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube without seeing you asking somebody to dream. We make the business the same way. We try to run the business where if you see our product once, you're going to see it again until you buy it. These three things is what made my e-commerce business attractive to a buyer. When I first...
That's something that's really interesting, and I've never understood why somebody would just stick to one form of social media. If you have a TikTok video, why not cross-post it on literally everything else? Yeah, sometimes it might not be made for Instagram, but you can make an Instagram video the next day and then cross-post it with all of the other ones. And it just compounds that way. It's never really made much sense to me why people limit themselves in this aspect.
I just had a little basic funnel that was making money. By the end, we had a fully custom product. We had 100,000 plus customer list, and we were on pretty much all channels, and the business became super attractive. And the last thing will be having the team/systems so the business can run without you, because otherwise they don't want to buy it. So if you can do these four things in a business, the business suddenly becomes extremely attractive for a buyer, even if the business is not incredibly profitable at the moment. Because at the time that I had sold that e-commerce brand, it wasn't on like an upward trajectory. It was actually going this direction because I wasn't focusing on it as much as I was in the past. But because I had these four things, the business was still very attractive and we still sold it.
This is the end game. Don't just build a business that pays you. Build one that someone else will pay you for. Jordan sold two companies because they were structured like assets, not hustles. He had systems, a customer base, and a team that essentially didn't need him. That's the difference between income and wealth. Look, you can't sell your time. I mean, you can sell your time, but you really shouldn't. But you can sell a system. He built, he automated, and eventually exited. You can start the same way. Build, automate, scale, and one day, hopefully exit. Look, Jordan's story isn't luck. It's proof that when you commit, stay consistent, and think long-term, everything changes, especially if you commit and you lock in. If you're broke right now, you're not behind. You're just early. Take these 8 steps, fix yourself, pick your lane, find someone to copy, give it time, reinvest, build, push, and prepare. That's how you go from surviving to essentially selling the life that you built. And if you're ready to automate your journey, tools like AutoDS make that path 10 times faster, because once the busy work runs itself, all that's left is you and the blueprint. You don't need luck. You need clear execution. Copy Jordan Welch and start building. And if you enjoyed this type of content, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, make sure you hit that like button, and let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Huge thank you to everyone for watching, especially if you made it all the way to the end. My name is Mario with AutoDS, and I'll catch you all next time.